Hello everyone, my name is UltimoFive and today we're going over the Kompressa, the bubble launcher. The Kompressa is Yareli's signature bubblegun pistol sidearm that fires sticky bubbles that explode on contact with a surface or enemy. The Kompressa is obtained by buying the weapon and its components from Rocky and Fortuna when the player has reached rank 5 with event kits. Requires a mastery rank of 8, comes with a D polarity slot plus a V auxilia slot, and because of this the builds on this weapon will require 4 forma normally, but modified with galvanized mods will require 5. And the Kompressa excels in short to medium range combat and can deal with high leveled enemies of all factions in small to slightly large crowds. Advantages for the weapon would be that it has a very high status chance, an innate multi-shot of 4 bubbles, a large ammo reserve, and bubbles explode in a 2.4 meter radius after about a second upon impact with a surface or enemy. Disadvantages, however, for the weapon would be that it has a very low critical chance, a below average critical multiplier, projectiles have travel time, a limited range of 35 meters, explosions inflict self-stagger, and explosions have linear damage fall off. The elements for the Kompressa against the Corpus will be Magnetic and Toxin. Magnetic amplifies shield damage by 100% and nullifies regen of shields for 6 seconds, which stacks up to 10 times for a total of 325%. Meanwhile, Toxin deals 50% base damage per second over 6 seconds and stacks indefinitely with each instance having its own timer. The build's flex slot is Magnum Force and works alright. This weapon does the job against a Corpus, but it can take a reload to deal with a squad of enemies. Magnetic strips off their shields faster while Toxin melts health, making this weapon decent against a Corpus. The element for the Kompressa against a Corrupt and Grineer will be Corrosive and Heat. Heat deals 50% base damage per second over 6 seconds while stripping up to 50% armor and causes targets to panic. The build's flex slot is Magnum Force and is okay. With the use of Corrosive, it turns this little bubble blower into an armor shredder that completely melts the Corrupted and Grineer away. It can take a few reloads to get the job done though, but does have better results when not just testing against Eximus enemies. The element for the Kompressa against the Infested will be Gas. Gas deals 50% base damage per second for 6 seconds in a 3 meter radius and stacks up to 10 times for a total of 6 meters. The build's flex slot is auger packed and performs fairly well with massive amounts of gas clouds that form from the high status chance, and honestly, it is pretty fun to use. The Condition Overload build for the Kompressa focuses on placing as many statuses onto enemies for your melee weapons. The build's flex slot is Stunning Speed, and since the nerf of Condition Overload, it isn't as good as it would have been. However, with Blast and Electricity being fairly rare on most melee weapon builds, you should be averaging about 3 to 5 statuses per enemy, maybe 6 in some cases as long as you consider the melee weapon statuses as well. Along with getting tons of free viral procs, this build makes it so you are definitely reaching high amounts of damage that Condition Overload can offer currently. Also, even though the weapon's blast radius isn't the greatest, it still works fairly well against huddled enemies. Galvanized Diffusion and Galvanized Shot in place of their normal counterparts if you have access to the mods through arbitration and want to take the weapon's damage to the next level. Expel Faction mods Heated Charge and Fulmination in place of their primed counterparts if you don't have them. Lethal Torrent in place of the build's Expel Faction mod if you don't like using faction mods. Magnum Force in place of Prime Fulmination if you don't have either normal Fulmination or the Prime variant. This gives the weapon less accuracy so bubbles will spread out a bit more, increasing range as so. And Augur Seeker or Perpetual Agony in place of Stunning Speed if you want to increase status duration. There are several ways to enhance damage for this weapon, for instance Rhino's Roar, Nova's Molecular Prime, which makes all sources of damage increase by 100% against primed enemies. Mirage's Eclipse mixed with her Hall of Mirrors, it's a massive damage bonus during the day or in light. Saren's Toxic Lash mixed with her Spores abilities. Equinox's Rest and Rage in Day 4 makes targets more vulnerable to damage. Wisp's Haste Reservoir, which bolsters fire rate in turn increasing DPS. And Chroma's Vex Armor, when health gets damage, increases weapon damage. Arcane Awakening, on reload 60% chance for 150% damage of pistols for 24 seconds. Arcane Precision, on headshot 100% chance for 300% damage of pistols for 18 seconds. Arcane Arachne, on wall latch 150% damage for 30 seconds. Secondary Merciless, on kill 30% damage for 12 seconds, which stacks up to 4 times and comes with 30% reload speed and 100% max ammo. This arcane is purely for the faction builds in order to help increase damage for the weapon mainly. The other sets are honestly just a bonus. And Secondary Dexterity, on melee kill 60% damage for 20 seconds which stacks up to 6 times and comes with a 7.5 second combo duration increase and a 60% holster speed increase. This arcane is purely for the Condition Overload build in order to help with holstering your weapon and mainly the combo duration increase for your melee weapon. When you get your hands on a Riven for this weapon, the flex slot to replace will be Magnum Force. This can require one more Forma, and in order to maximize damage output with Kompressa, one will need to get lucky and get some nice stats. These ideal stats would be damage, multi-shot, fire rate, and negative zoom or weapon recoil. Thanks for watching. If you want to see more guides on Warframe, please click the like and sub buttons to let me know. And as per usual, I will see you guys in the next video. Goodbye.